Our next speaker for the day is Miss Samprita SEAL. She is a biomedical engineer from Amri. She will be discussing on the usage of USG for vascular surgeons.
It is often said that in order to reach our right path or the right destination, we need to choose the right way. With this thought in mind, I, Samprita SEAL, would like to glide through the nobology, the patent knowledge, and the use of ultrasound. That is the right path to a correct and a precise surgery, probably. Well, our approaches for the topic would be knowing the device, the major transducers, linear ultrasound probe, axis orientation, steps for operation, the mode of operation, the importance of correct configuration, and the closure. Starting off, we should know what we are using. That is, we should know what is the device all about. An ultrasound is basically a device that has the electronics and computer consoles and a video display. It uses a transducer, the main instrument that sends sound waves down the body parts, in which the sound waves gets reflected and we get the image of that particular part. Now the transducer. Transducers are handheld scanners that is attached to the ultrasound machine. Now it has piezoelectric effect, and it is the system, or it is the main thing that touches the patient's body. Well, it has crystals built in it that is used to receive and send the sound waves. Well, according to the placement of the body structure, or according to the structure of observation, we have three kinds of transducer. The first one is the linear one that is used for imaging the vascular parts. The second one is the curvilinear part that is used majorly for visualizing the abdomen part. And the third one is the phased array that we use for the echo parts. Now, as the all concerns here are for the vascular surgery, I would lay the limelight on the ultrasound probe, that is the linear one. Well, the linear ultrasound probe has the highest frequency. It is used to build the best resolution, and it is used to visualize the surface structures of the body. It has a rectangular field of view because, as we know, while visualizing the arteries or vein, the main structure is a longitudinal one, so it needs a rectangular field of view. This is best for vein mapping, for varicose veins or spider veins and any kind of things like that. Now coming to the axis orientation. Basically, the axis orientation is all about the way we want to hold the probe. Whether it is a normally longitudinal way of axis, or we want to use it as a transverse way of axis. If we want to use the probe in longitudinal way, then our field of view would be a longitudinal structure of the vein. That is, we will get the longer part of the veins. If we want to use the probe in the transverse veins, it means that our field of view is actually on one certain part and of one certain point. All these things are marked by an axis orientation, or the orientation marker that we have in the probe. The practical positioning goes like, in the first one, this is the transverse way. The transverse way in when we want to use a certain point, our area of location is a certain point or a cylindrical point of the vein. In longitudinal view, we see a longer part of the vein. That is when we want to use it for vein puncturing or any kind of needle thing, then we can use this longitudinal part so that we can see how long is our needles going through. Now coming to the steps of operation, that is how to operate the USG machine. A very common step is that we need to switch it on properly. Well, over here, we would focus on the GE Ultrasound Vivid IQ. As for tomorrow's session, we would be using that. In normal sense, all the probes, all the machines have a particular power button. We switch on the machine with the power button, and while loading, while we switch on the machine, we have certain presets that gets loaded accordingly and with the probe settings as well. Now, after switching on, the machine gets into the scanning mode. Now, this is a universal mode. The scanning mode usually can be discriminated or differentiated by the probes we use. Now, after getting into the scanning mode, we need to select the probe. The probe is on the left-hand side of the screen. We have the probe selection. Now, why to select the probe? If we want to view a vascular part, we cannot use a convex probe because that won't give us a field of view. So for using a particular type of structure, we need to use a particular type of probe. Also, it is used basically for developing the better view of the field of structures. Now coming to the next step, presets. In spite of using proper probe, we need to have proper set of configuration. Now, presets are basically set of configurations that are there from beforehand. For example, if we have to view the carotid part, we cannot use a different kind of preset, although we are using a linear probe. For using a carotid surgeon, for using to visualize a carotid part, we would use a carotid kind of a setting. For example, if we want to use it for varicose veins observation, we need to use it in LEV mode, LEV preset, that is lower extremity vein. Like this, there are different kind of presets set over here. Accordingly, we can use that. Now, the second one is the depth. Depth is basically nothing but how deep we want to see our seated veins. The next part is the gain. Now, accordingly, the gain is basically how brighter or how darker we want to visualize our image. Okay, and according to the depth of the structure, we need to use the correct set of gain, or we need to use the proper sets. Now the next step is the time gain compensation. Well, the TGC switches that are almost there, the TGC switches that we have, these kind, we can see it in most of the ultrasound. These are used to have gain adjustments at specific location. That is, when we use it, we can have the structural gain at the near field view or at the far field view. We can increase or decrease accordingly. Next, the additional features that are there, that is focus. If we want to focus at a particular part, we can use the focus button. We can just move the cursor there and then we can just focus at that particular part. The freeze is to freeze the image when we want to freeze it and visualize something for a greater point of time. The measure is because we have to, if we want to caliper certain distance or certain structures measurements, and the capture is very simple. It is used to capture the images. Now the mode of operation, usually when using a USG machine for vascular surgery, we use a duplex mode. That is a B mode or a 2D mode and a color Doppler. We may or may not use a color Doppler depending on what kind of visualizations we want. Now the importance of correct configuration. As I already said before, every set of preset or every set of probe have its own configurations for which we can use it best to visualize the organs we want to visualize. Now the first thing in mind we should see is the correct configuration. It means to apply the correct set of requirements in accordance to the area of surface. Also, a proper preset would guide us to a better field of view. In case of vascular surgeries, we should always keep the probe at a 90-degree angle to the veins. If we keep the probe in any such other ways, then we cannot use the most of the axes and we cannot visualize it properly. Now coming to the closure, basically we need to switch on the machine first, then the scanning part comes, then we need to choose the probe, and the next part we need to choose the preset according to the probes. After that, we need to adjust the gain and the depth in order to use the correct part, and we need to complete the visualization in proper way. We need to measure if we want to do something, and after that, we need to shut it down properly. Thank you so much for being such a patient audience, and I wish you all a very happy Doctor's Day. And it's an honor to be here at such a wonderful day. Thank you.